Hi, my name is Ayo. I am a young black Christian doctor. I hope you're well. I don't know when you're watching this, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Why am I doing this video? So it's just a partner with an article that I wrote. I was trying to encourage people to, take responsibility for their health. Now, I wanted to go into a lot more detail about it. So I'll try and keep it, within 10 minutes. So let's start at the beginning. 2020 was a pivotal year for a lot of people, but it was a big year for me and my family. At the beginning of the year, my wife and I were like, babe, this is going to be our year. We believe that God is going to do really major things in 2020, and we were excited about what was on the horizon. So we just looking forward to it. Now, in 2020, the world had to watch George Floyd get murdered, and that was the first thing that happened to me. And the more I thought about it, the angrier that I got. I mean, we'd seen this kind of stuff before, but it really affected me. And the take home, thought to me was, no one's coming to save us. And it was very harrowing. Then a few weeks later, I had a stroke. I was at work. I had some symptoms on my left side, and long story short, it's too long to describe in this video. I had a series of scans which showed that I had a small stroke on the right side of my brain, explaining my left-sided symptoms. And I was also diagnosed with high blood pressure. And while I was off, again, the lasting thought to me was, we have to start taking better care of ourselves. That's a personal thing, but that's also a corporate thing. Because looking at me, you wouldn't be like, oh, he got a stroke. Well, that makes sense. Not that it ever makes sense, but there was a shock whenever I told people about it, and I thought, well, if I can have a stroke, only I would have considered myself healthy and fit, but I'm a doctor, so maybe I can use the experience that's happened to me and my voice to help my community be more aware of these issues. And then in 2020, my dad died, and I started thinking about, what am I doing in this life that's going to outlast me in terms of how I'm affecting my community. So one of the things that came out of that was this platform, Young Black Christian Doctor, because I thought, who better, to start this conversation, to aid this conversation than me. Like I said, you wouldn't have thought about me having a stroke looking at me, and being a pastor's son and being a Christian myself, I think there are some specific faith issues that sometimes mitigate against us as a community taking better care of ourselves. So what I want you to think about is, because I like analogies, I think it helps people understand things. I want you to think about a luxury car. We're going to think about your body like a luxury car that somebody has given you. You didn't buy it yourself, you gave it. And there are some just principles that I think are really important that have helped me better understand what I need to do to take care of myself, as well as when I'm having conversations with people in the community. So there are some other issues as well, but luxury car is the theme. So the first thing to remember is that your body's a gift, and one of the things that you do when somebody gives you a gift that you value is you take care of it. And I just wonder whether you've taken the time to sit and think, my body's a gift. God gave me a gift. If you were to take the time to investigate how complex and wonderful your body is, it would take your breath away. All the millions of processes that have to work every second of every day to make sure that you can just take that breath, to turn around and look. It's honestly, it's fantastic. So you've been given a really good gift. It's important for you to understand that, and I want you to be grateful for that. Now, there are three things that have three thoughts that have really moved me forward from the time of having a stroke, and those are take stock, take responsibility, take action. I had to take stock. Where am I? One of the things I realized is that I hadn't checked my blood pressure probably for years before having a stroke, and I have high blood pressure in my family. So one of the principles I want to leave you with is this principle of informed is armed. Knowing is better than not knowing. That's something I often tell patients when when they're not sure about whether to go through with an investigation or not. Knowing is better than not knowing. Things that you don't know can affect you. This is a good place to ask you, when was the last time you checked your blood pressure? The reason I'm mentioning blood pressure is just, for me, it's a thing that we kind of all understand. It's not the only thing that's important, but being intentional about that, I think, will also create an intentionality about other things in life. So when was the last time you checked your blood pressure? Do you know what your blood pressure is? Do you know what's normal? Normal is 120 over 80. Now, some people are of the opinion that it's okay for it to get a little higher when you get older, and I think that's true to some extent. However, as a consultant in acute medicine, I'm often seeing people who have had okay blood pressure for a long time and are dealing with the consequence of it not being better controlled over 10 years or 20 years. So I think aiming for as close to normal, 120 over 80, in my opinion, should be what we're aiming for. One of the things from a communication point of view is often when we're engaging with healthcare, somebody will say, oh, it's okay. Because of the fact that as a doctor, sometimes I don't expect patients to have a level of insight into what the numbers mean. But I would encourage everybody, just when somebody says that, just ask and say, well, look, could you just tell me the numbers? Because okay means different things for different people. And my challenge is that it's not anybody else's responsibility to make sure that your body is working in the best way possible. It's yours. It's your body. So you should know what the numbers are. Informed is armed. And there's a concept of prevention being better than cure, and maintenance versus emergency. Modern medicine is absolutely fantastic for an emergency. Absolutely fantastic. You know, the things that we're able to do today are the things that were killing people a generation ago, 2 generations ago, and there was nothing to stop that. We're able to deal with that emergency. Now, modern medicine and the things that we do in an emergency are less good treatments for long-term or chronic problems. So it's important to have this idea of maintenance, rather than leaving things for an emergency, just like with a car. I'll tell you a story. So there was a car that I had that whenever I braked, I heard a creaking. And you know, I was concerned about the cost of going to the mechanic, and so I just left it. And I think months later, like the creaking was more frequent and it was louder, and just bit the bullet. I went to the mechanic, and the mechanic told me, so not only are your brake pads eroded away, but the things that hold the brake pads are now damaged. So you're going to have to replace it. If you'd have brought it in sooner, it wouldn't have cost you as much. And how often is that the case for us when it comes to our bodies? Ignoring something, not being intentional about just sorting it out, and as a consequence, later we are dealing with it as a bigger issue than if we had just nipped it in the bud even. So my encouragement is, think of your body like a luxury car. The way you keep a car young is by servicing it. Not servicing your car won't stop it working immediately. It just means that it will be operating in a less optimum way. We're understanding that. So the fact that your body is working doesn't mean it's working at its optimum. So as a doctor, I'm encouraging you, get a checkup. We're not so good at it as a community, and I think it's important for us to do that. When was the last time you checked your blood pressure or your blood sugar if you're diabetic? Now again, this is just a whistle stop tour. I have lots more content on the channel, and I'm going to have some more conversations moving forward. But this is just something I want you to think about. Sometimes in certain communities, I'll just pray about it. And again, I want you to be conscious about the fact that I am a Christian. I believe in prayer, and I believe in a God who heals. However, I want to remind you that God says that faith without works is dead. So the concept of divine health I find as an interesting one, obviously because I've had a stroke and I've had to really think deeply about these things. I feel that sometimes when we hear the word divine health, what we've done as a society is that we have forgotten that there is a responsibility on us to move forward in some of the things that God says He promises us. Faith without works is dead. Faith without corresponding acting out of the thing that you believe is dead, as far as God doesn't understand it. So if you say you want divine health, what are you doing about it? Also, the Bible says, add to your faith knowledge. There are some maybe cultural barriers from talking about health issues and things like that. I want you to understand that that's culture, that's not faith. God is a God who honors faith, and a lot of these things cause us to hide our head in the sand and are fear-based decisions. But God doesn't honor fear, He honors faith. So what does faith look like in the situation that you're dealing with? Again, knowing is better than not knowing. I've said a lot of things. I want to be very practical about what I have done that have helped me move forward with regards to my health. So the first thing is that doesn't it seem like when everyone's telling you about living healthy, it's about don't do this and don't do that, and it seems very punitive. But when I took stock, I became aware of the fact that there were probably a number of things that were good ideas to do to be healthy that I wasn't doing. So what I started to do is, rather than taking away things, I started to add things, which again psychologically was just easier to accept. So the first thing I did is I started to drink more water. I wasn't intentional about drinking water before. It would be juice or other things like that. So water specifically. I now have half a liter of water in the morning to take my medication. On the way to work, I have half a liter when I get to work in my office, and I have half a liter at lunch. That's 1.5 liters I wouldn't have had otherwise. And even if I just do that over a long period of time, that's something that puts my body in a healthier position than not doing that. Even if I change nothing at all. I've been more intentional about walking. I spoke to a professor of cardiology, and walking, strenuous walking as opposed to jogging, it probably burns as many calories, but it's kinder to your joints. If you were to go for a 1 hour walk three times a week, you know that you would, over a year, you would have walked 300 miles, and I think it's about just over 11 marathons. And again, doing that puts you in a position where you are healthy in a way that you would if you don't do those things. And consistent walking has been linked to better control in diabetes and reducing high blood pressure. There are people who have been able to reduce their tablet burden, the number of tablets they take a day, and come off tablets completely simply by walking consistently. So it's just something that you can think about. The concept of exercise sometimes can be a bit restrictive. So I like to think of the idea of movement rather than exercise. So my office at work is on the 3rd floor. So it's important for you to, if you can, avoid the lift. I now run up to the 5th floor and then walk down to the 3rd. Every time I have to go up the stairs, I run up to the 5th. Again, it's something. It's something that I'm doing that I wasn't doing before that puts me in a situation where I'm healthy. And over a period of time, consistently, my body is getting healthier and healthier. I am reducing the number of meals that I'm eating with meat, and reducing the amount of salt in the meals. Those are just certain things that I'm doing. Also, I was intentional about making sure that every meal that I'm eating has fresh fruit and veg. These might be things that you're already doing, but these things were things I wasn't doing. So if you are doing it, well, good for you. I'm also engaged in therapy, because I believe that what the mind can't handle, it impacts on the body. And this is where I'm going to leave you. We are a spirit, I believe. We have a soul and we live in a body. When those things are balanced, we are in a state of ease. When those things are out of balance, we become in a state of dis-ease. That's where the word disease comes from, because the people who made up the word understood that not being balanced in your spirit and your soul and your body infected your health in the broad sense. So, my brother, my sister, auntie and uncle, nephew and niece, I need you to take better care of yourself, because we need you. We really do need you. Have you checked your blood pressure? Are you drinking water? Are you being intentional about fresh fruit and veg? And are you thinking long term? Luxury cars, we don't buy them 1 week and sell them the next. We're keeping them for a long term. Maintenance is better than an emergency. Now, if you want to get in touch, please get in touch on the in the comments, or you can contact me on via official.ybcd on Instagram. I hope this has been helpful. If there's something else that you'd like me to talk about, please put it in the comments. And we have to take better care of each other. We have to take better care of ourselves. God bless.